Okay, I think nobody's here yet. If you are here, hello, there's somebody coming in. Please say hi so I know who you are. All right, hello, people, welcome. If one of you could also put in the WhatsApp chat that the live stream is starting, that would be helpful for those of you who might have forgotten or something like that. That'd be great. No, you can use Wi-Fi. I'm using my phone.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, hey Rhea, how's it going? Can you please post in the class chat that we're starting, just making sure that people know that it's happening because they might have forgotten? I would appreciate that. Oh, here we go. Awesome. Thanks, Rhea. Hi, Sam. Hi, Gavin. Hi, Carlotta. Hallo, Friedrich. Aaron, hi. Hallo, Lars. All right, seems like people are coming in. Good. Do a 100 subscriber special. Hilarious. Hi, Eva. Rafi's here. Hallo. Okay, we're at 15. That's pretty close. Molly's here. Hi. Vicky's here. Hi. Awesome. We're coming in pretty fast there. Good job. It is 11:32. Thanks for subscribing, Rafi. Very exciting. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. Just kidding. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be a YouTube star, but we're doing the best we can. So hi, Lena. We have just a few minutes, and I do want to do a couple things here. So I'm going to get started. I will also record this. Hi, Louisa. I will record this, and then people who missed it or people who want to go back and review something can go back and replay it. First of all, just an important hello and statement about Corona. I know we're all thinking about the same thing. And here's the tough message, I think, that you're getting it already, but it's important for you guys to think about how you're going to manage your education at this point, because most likely you're not going to be back in school for a while, and maybe not till summer. And even if we might have school after spring break, then you still need to live your life right now as if school is not happening till August. This is important. Why is it important? It's important because your first instinct when you heard that school was canceled for 3 weeks until spring break might have been. However, if you realize that maybe school isn't going to be in session for a long time, maybe till August, you're going to miss more than half a semester. That means that you are in a spot where suddenly it's not, instead it's, and the reason for that is because you need to think about how you're going to be able to better yourself and make the learning happen for yourself to a large degree independently. So, how are you going to learn physics? How are you going to learn English? How are you going to learn German? How are you going to learn history? How are we going to write tests? That's a great question. We might have tests online. There's a variety of ways that we can do this. Okay. But again, the focus is again not necessarily on how are you going to hang on a second, I just got to do something quickly here. So how are you going to make it happen? Because we can help, but because you guys are home, you will have to do a lot of this yourself. Okay. So what resources can you get? How can you work with each other? How can you make your day effective and all that stuff? Okay, I hope that was somewhat of a pep talk. Let's get back to actually talking about physics because you are in physics class. That's a good question, Johannes. How often are these live streams going to happen? And partially this is a function of how are we going to make the learning happen for physics? So if we decide that live streams are great for you guys to learn physics, then we'll do that more often. If you decide we really want to concentrate on reading our book or watching videos asynchronously, not together, then maybe that's a better approach. And maybe we're looking at a mixture. But for now, let's just kind of take a step at a time. This is my first day doing live streams. You're my third class today that's getting a live stream. So we'll vary things, but we'll not make any decisions right now. Okay? What we'll do today in class is we're going to talk about where we stopped. We stopped when we talked about lenses. Okay, we're going to try how it works here with the whiteboard. Let's see how it goes. When we talked about lenses previously, we talked about convex lenses, okay, and how images are formed, okay? And specifically, we talked about two different rules regarding how images were formed by convex lenses. And the two rules that we talked about were that light that was parallel to the optical axis was redirected through the focal point. Okay, so that was rule one for convex lenses. Convex lenses, rule one. Parallel goes to the focal point. Okay, that's rule one. And that's true of any parallel lines that come in there. Okay, so the second rule that we had was about light that didn't come through the focal point, that did not come in parallel. What we got is that light that comes through, look, that doesn't work at all. Light that comes through the focal point, for example, like this, comes out the other side parallel. That's rule two. Okay, from the focal point becomes parallel. Okay, those are the two rules. That's just a review. Then we used both of those rules to come up how images were formed, specifically by when you use this thing as a magnifying glass. Okay, and that's for if your distance to your object is smaller than the focal length. And we also talked about how this kind of lens is used in the camera or on your eye, and that's specifically when your distance to your object is bigger than twice the focal length. That's review. So what I wanted to do today, hi Natasha, what I wanted to do today was just talk about how a concave lens forms an image and just get us started on that process. So a concave lens, and a good way to remember what is a concave lens, and this is kind of hokey, is here's our optical axis. A concave lens caves in. So it caves in rather than comes out like that. That's concave. So something that is curved inward is called concave. Okay, something that's curved outward is called convex. So let's talk about how we're going to find the rules there. Reading is something you should be able to do. Can you not read something specific? Or just in general, Gavin? Hilarious, Molly. Yes, you may go to the bathroom. So here's our lens, and let's take a look at what happens to light that interacts with this lens. And to do that, we're going to look at the lens in terms of just parallel light here. Oopsie, not quite that high. Right, that comes in there. And what happens to it? Now, we've done this before in terms of the marching band principle. So the light comes in here, interacts with the lens, and will bend at that point. So it will bend at that point because inside the lens, the speed is slower, and outside the speed is faster. We've done that before. Okay, so at this point, the light comes into the lens, and if you take a look at this, my middle finger would enter the lens first, and my index finger second. So my middle finger would slow down, and my index finger would pivot around it, so then it would go upwards. So let's take a look at that. And at the second transition, the same thing would happen, where the index finger exits the lens first and therefore speeds up, and the middle finger is slower, so the index finger pivots around, so it will pivot up at that point again. So let's take a look. This would be the equivalent rule 1 for a concave lens. So let's take a look what this means. It means that a concave lens actually spreads the light apart that's parallel rather than bring it together. In German, actually, the name for a convex lens is Sammellinse. And for the okay, just a note, I'm going to start throwing people out of the chat if you guys are being morons, and you should take advantage of the opportunity to actually learn something. Okay, so the parallel light for a concave lens is spread apart. It's put together or brought together in a convex lens. That corresponds to the German name for these two. A convex lens is actually called a Sammellinse, collecting lens. And a concave lens is called a Streulinse because it spreads apart the light. It distributes it widely. And specifically, if you take a look at where this light appears to be coming from, it comes from this point, which we will call the focus point of this thing. Okay, so a concave lens is called a Streulinse, means it distributes the light. It spreads it apart. Like streuen means to spread out. Whereas eine Sammellinse, convex lens, gathers together the light. Those are the two words there. Okay, so what we have here is a qualitative explanation for why a concave lens does this. So let's write this down as rule 1 for convex lenses. So if you have parallel light, it goes as if it's coming from the focal point. So light that's parallel goes away from the lens as if it's coming from the focal point. Parallel light spreads out as if it's coming from the focal point. So if we had light that was coming through down here, it would go up at this angle as if it were coming from the focal point. Maybe I can draw that in a different color so you can get an idea of what that looks like. So this would be that if you had, again, rule 1, a green light comes over here. Oopsie, sorry, that's really crooked. Okay, so there we go. That would be following rule 1 for the green light. So parallel light becomes, spreads it out like that. Projectors do tend to use concave lenses. Now, I'm not super familiar exactly how it works, but I think you're right, Natasha. That's a good question. I think they do use it, but I'm not exactly positive on this. Kind of, Carly. That's a good question. So the second question is, how do we get the rule 2 then out of this? Because remember, rule 1 and rule 2 were direct inverses of each other for the convex lens. So we had parallel light being sent through the focal point, and light that came from the focal point became parallel. So rule 2 is rule 1 in reverse. So let's try that out now. And instead of sending light parallel and then spreading apart, we're now going to take the light and we're going to apply the rule the other way around. Are these mandatory? These are mandatory. You are actually in school. So what that means is today's a school day, and this is during your school time, so you have a physics class. Good. So take a look at 1, the light of 1. If we were to reverse this process of this light, meaning instead of sending it parallel, it then spreading out, if we then sent the light in this direction, well, what direction is that light going? That light's going at the focal point. Light's going at the focal point. Okay? Light's going at the focal point. Now we have a focal point on both sides. We have a focal point on both sides. So we can take light and aim it at the focal point, and then it would become parallel. So let's draw that in. So we have a focal point over here. There's one on each side. It's a symmetrical object, just like the convex lens. Yes, I will post a photo, a detailed photo of this online afterwards, and then you can also review the video. And I'll also check out in terms of making things better in terms of the quality of the video and all those kind of things. Okay, so we're going to take a a light ray that we aim at the focal point. So, for example, if we have a light ray from over here, yeah, that's aimed at the focal point, and that would come out the other side parallel. So, this is rule 2. This was rule 1. And then we can summarize that as rule 2. Specifically, rule 2, if you send light at the focal point, it becomes parallel. Light that's sent at the focal point becomes parallel. Okay? So those are the 2 new rules for how concave lenses affect light. And specifically to repeat that, parallel light becomes is sent out as if it was coming from the focal point. Parallel destroys, and it looks to be coming from the focal point, whereas light that's sent at the focal point on the other side of the lens will then become parallel. Okay, those are the 2 rules that we have here in terms of how a lens affects the convex lens, concave lens affects the light. So now that's just a little bit of content, and I know it's difficult to see. I'm working out the details. I just got this whiteboard. It's not ideal. I'm still using the camera on my laptop, which is obviously not the best webcam. We might have some other options in terms of making this think better. The focal point, and I'll use the extra time. We have about 9 minutes to talk about a few things, answer a few questions. So first of all, the focal point is given in the problem, and you could experimentally determine it if you had an actual physical lens. But in our situation, we will generally be told what the focal point is. So I just drew it in and just guessed where it would be. That's how I determined it. We don't necessarily have means of figuring it out otherwise, at least at this stage, unless we actually ran an experiment. That's the first thing. I also saw earlier on a question regarding tests and how we would take tests. We're still working out the details on that. And I think an important thing for you to realize and to remember, this brings me back to what I said first, is that there needs to be, we can also do, hang on a second, I'll get a question at a time. So first of all, you need to kind of switch your mindset a little bit in terms of thinking about school as something you need to check off the box in order to get a credit and then somehow move on to the next level and get grades and all that stuff. Because if school is disrupted for a very long time, this becomes about you needing to get skills to be able to do things. I know I've talked to you guys about this idea before, that schooling is actually something that's helpful for you to get smarter, to know more things, and all that stuff. And then the testing actually becomes less of a question. And I mean, what I mean by that is, if we're less worried about what grade you're going to get, sure, if we're testing you at home through some process, there's going to be problems regarding possible cheating. Let's put it that way. And that's less of a worry regarding this situation when we're really focused on you guys taking the opportunity to learn the physics, in this case, rather than figuring out how to cheat the system. Other questions coming in. How will we do labs? We can do labs. They would be virtual digital labs. There's different programs that we could do for that. I could also record a video of me collecting the data and then you analyzing it. That's a possibility. I could also, in some situations, come up with labs that you can actually complete at home. That's not possible for everything, but there are actually some things that you could do in your apartment right now, just with using your stopwatch on your phone and some other equipment you have at home. Next question. Summer vacation going to be canceled? I believe there will not be school during vacations that have already been announced. What I mean by that is in 2 weeks, we are going on Easter vacation or spring break, and that vacation is still happening. Okay. So obviously, you're not going anywhere because you have to live. You can also live in a house. It's fine. You will not have school during that time. At the same time, you might want to do some work, like you normally might do some studying, for example, or homework during break, but there's no specific instruction during that time. So, same thing for summer vacation. They're not going to schedule summer vacation, anything in summer vacation. Now, I do not believe that we are coming back to school on April 20. That's my personal opinion. I have no inside information. I am suspecting that we will be out of school until summer. Okay, but we'll see what happens. You should prepare mentally for the fact that we don't have school until August 20th or whenever the first day of school is scheduled. And again, if school is not happening for another 5 months, okay, then you need to change your mindset to awesome, we can, have tons of vacation, to crap. I am going to lose an educational opportunity where I can better myself and actually have some skills where later I can go to college and get a job and know things and not be stupid. Okay. So you need to figure out how you're going to use that time, assuming that's what's happening until that point. Okay. Again, I have no inside information. I know nothing. The official announcement is April 20th is the next day of school, but just put yourself in the mindset that you need to suck the marrow out of life, to quote, one of my favorite movies, Dead Poets Society, and figure out how to fill your time between now and then constructively to learn rather than just, oh, we've got an extended spring break. Let's just all, go out to where we shouldn't be going and spreading coronavirus. By the way, obviously, don't do that. Please self-isolate at home. Don't go out unless you absolutely have to. All the stuff you've already heard, all that thing stuff. All righty. So other questions you guys have? What's happening in your other classes? Are things going okay with other instructors? Nope. What does nope mean? Oh, okay. Google Classroom things are happening. I'm assuming that's what it means. Our quiz, Google Classroom things are happening. We will have a quiz, most likely in physics. We're going to figure that out. But again, we're taking it a step at a time to kind of figure out what we're going to do. Some people gave a lot of work for history. Well, no surprise there. Okay. How about math class? Math class going okay? Enormous workload. Okay. Sorry. Teachers somehow found out how to use Classroom. One teacher gave us way more work to do than we would have time to do in class. Okay, which instructor gave you too much work? Math is fine. History is way too much. History is in a couple months. Okay, so is it like the instructor gave you tons of stuff due in 2 months? Is that what it is? Mr. Lazar. Mr. Lazar is crushing you with homework, correct? Okay. I will check that out and find out what's going on with Lazar in history to make sure that's not excessive. Okay? Any other instructors that are concerned right now? Just talking as your Klassenlehrer? Okay. History isn't much at all. Okay. In Nebenfach. Yes. Okay. A report card for quarter three. There will be no report card for quarter three. Quarter three grades have been canceled. Quarter four, end of year, there will be some kind of report card, and it will depend on how those grades are calculated as to what happens after Easter break. Okay. Quarter four, there might or might not be new grades. You might just receive the grades you have right now. I don't know. Let's kind of take it a step at a time. As you've noticed, things are changing quickly, and we don't know exactly what's happening tomorrow. So I definitely don't want to know what happens in June. Can our teachers tell us our test grades, please? Okay, so yeah, contact them. Maybe ask them if they could put the grades on Google Classroom. Apparently they all learned how to use that. So then maybe they can actually post your test grades on Google Classroom. So maybe suggest that to your teachers that have tests graded, that maybe they can give those back that way. Okay, that might be a good suggestion because you've got a grade book on Google Classroom. Teachers should use it. Okay? All right. Can student council ask the teachers? That would work too. Okay. All right. I will start entering grades for our class on Google Classroom, the grades that we have available there. And then we will keep track of things there, as well as you have assignments that come due, I will enter the grades on there as well. And I'm still working out the details in terms of what kind of new assignments or grades there would be as they become available. Once I have grades, I will put those on Classroom. Yes, you can send me emails. That is fine, and I can answer questions regarding physics. That would be fine. Or you can post a question on Google Classroom. If it's a question that might be interesting for others, that's actually probably a good approach, because then if I answer the question and somebody else has the same question, Google Classroom is probably the best way to go. I did not, I'm getting, if you submitted work on Classroom, you can assume that it was turned in and that I have it. Okay. 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 So send me an email, Eva, just because I'm going to forget, and then I'll reply to you. Okay. And you should also be able to see when you go to the assignment, by the way, whether you've submitted an assignment, because it'll say submitted on da da da, and it'll say, and actually you can see the file that you've submitted. So Google Classroom is nice that way, that it keeps track of, and it's easy to check whether something got there or not. Okay, so feel free to provide feedback to me and also as a class or whatever, individually, however works for you. And in terms of how we move forward, I hope the live stream helped a little bit. I will take a picture of this, and I'm also working on ability to actually do this more effectively in terms of maybe having a better camera, having a better whiteboard, having a better marker, using a tablet. I'm not sure yet, but we'll figure it out. Okay, we'll figure it out together, and have a good weekend. It's actually the weekend, so Saturday, Sunday, you're not have to do work, but you know how it is. Sometimes you do homework on a normal weekend as well. But otherwise, let me know about how things are going in general. I'll check on the history thing, and otherwise, I will see you soon on here, on Google Classroom, and on email. Okay? I'll see you guys later.